Greetings, inhabitants of this tragic comedy called Mexico. Come on in. Make yourselves comfortable in your front row seats to watch what little was left of institutionality crumble. Because today, hypocrisy reeks more than the subway. Pantitlan, in the middle of the heat wave. Welcome to another episode of How to Spit at the Sky and Have It Fall Back on Your Face, 4th Transformation Edition. Welcome to a new episode of this madhouse called Mexico, where reality not only surpasses fiction but kicks it around. It steals its wallet and then asks for a voluntary contribution to the cause. How are you all? I'm here with my liver armored because what I have for you today isn't just news. It's an ode to shamelessness, a monument to cynicism with a hint of Tabasco swamp. Just for a change. Today, among other gems, we're going to talk about how Mexican humanism is financed with methods that would make even an amateur Al Capone at a parish fair blush. Let's get to it. First, do you remember those fiery speeches at the podium, where they swore to us by the Virgin of Guadalupe and by the Constitution, which, by the way, they use as toilet paper, that nepotism was over, that old tune about how we're not the same? Well, get your confetti and noisemakers ready, because the Chamber of Deputies just gave us a masterclass on how to bypass their own reforms. From the Superior Audit Office of the Federation. For the period 2026 to 2034, yes. 8 years of pure fiscal happiness. It's none other than Aureliano Hernandez Palacios Cardel, a very flamboyant man for a profile with unsurpassed professional merit, being the son of Fernando Aureliano Hernandez Palacios Miron, the very same private secretary of the current president, or rather, the manager of the National Palace, when she was working in the capital's Zocalo as head of government. What a democratic coincidence among 30 million Mexicans, the technically most qualified profile to review the federal government's accounts, turned out to be the son of her closest collaborator. That's not nepotism, gentlemen. That's a cosmic coincidence for those who still believe in Santa Claus or in the honesty of a politician. Let me remind you that in theory, the Superior Audit Office of the Federation is supposed to ensure nothing, not even paperclips, gets stolen. In federal agencies, they have the power to audit municipalities, and most importantly, the mega projects and social programs, which are the black hole of this budget. But don't worry, with Aureliano Jr. in charge, the audits will be as rigorous as an elementary school test at the School of Well-Being. Do you really think the son of Chacha's friend is going to find any irregularities in the last 2 years of the Macaspano donkey, or at the start of Scheinbaum's term? Please, young Aureliano isn't here to audit. He's here to use the erasing technique and a clean slate with a veneer of legality that would make the best days of the Institutional Revolutionary Party in the 70s jealous. But the worst part of all this, and this is where the plot really gets sour, you'd expect the opposition to put up a fight, but no. With 472 votes in favor, the Partido Acción Nacional, the Institutional Revolutionary Party, and Movimiento Ciudadano joined the party. What a nice mess. The justification from the Partido Acción Nacional members is something you'd want to frame in the Museum of Infamy. They say they voted for him because he was the least toxic of the three. Give me a break. It's like choosing between 3 poisons and picking the strawberry one because it's the least bad. It's a shame that we have such a weak opposition, so submissive, so messed up, and so useful to the regime. Do they sell out for a pat on the back or for the promise that they won't be audited? They're the very definition of irrelevance, and yet they want us to support them. Get the hell out of here. But since in this country surrealism never rests, let's move on to the international stage. Do you remember the threat of a civil lawsuit against Elon Musk? Yes, that display of national sovereignty, because the owner of X, formerly Twitter, dared to say truths that we work hard to sweep under the rug here. Well, today the president, in a moment of clarity, or maybe after seeing that her lawsuit had the same legal validity as a 30-peso bill, she decided not to go through with it after all, that it's better not to proceed. What a surprise. It turns out that picking a fight with the richest man in the world, who also has the ear of our northern neighbor, wasn't the best marketing strategy. Scheinbaum knows perfectly well that the lawsuit was a monumental joke. Musk just said what the rest of the world sees, without the filter of official propaganda. But of course, it's easier to quietly take a step back and hope that we, the ordinary citizens, forget about the sovereignty tantrum. And let's move on to the main course of the day. It turns out that Grandpa Monster, Adán Augusto López, yes, that man who always looks like he's holding in a fart all day, the one who acted as the right-hand man, or rather, the enforcer of whims for the Pharaoh of Macuspana. It turns out that our former Secretary of the Interior, back when he was a corcolata, that fancy term they invented to avoid saying illegal pre-candidates, not only did he travel around the country with the papal blessing from the National Palace, but he also had a very particular group of sponsors with him. Thanks to an investigation, today we found out that the logistics for Adon Augusto's events in his home state of Tabasco, what a surprise, it's always Tabasco, was not paid for with the savings from his piggy bank, nor with contributions from devoted party members. No. The events were financed by a partner of the grandfather, Bermudez Requena, the leader of the Barradora. That criminal group, which according to rumors and files nobody wants to read, has Tabasco plunged into a criminal spree. Imagine the scene. Adon Augusto arrives in his impeccable guayabera, talking about transformation, about courageous honesty, and about how we are not the same. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the sound system, the chairs, the barriers, and even the sandwiches are being paid for by the partner of a crime boss, who, by the way, was put there as the head of the criminal organization by Adon Augusto himself. What a detail! That's what I call a circular economy. Organized crime organizes the event, and the politician organizes the impunity. It's a win-win. Pretty awesome, don't you think? The person in question, a certain businessman who walks the fine line between public contracts and board meetings. With the mafia, he made sure that the Eden's favorite didn't lack anything. Because of course running a campaign with public money is a crime, but doing it with money from exotic sources, well, in the 4T that's called voluntary contributions. The most fascinating thing about this circus is the reaction. Have you heard the deathly silence from Congress? Sure, if they bother to confront the independent media or the government, they're going to say it's a campaign financed by international conservatism, the CIA, and aliens, because the recipe is simple. If the truth bites you in the ass, blame the messenger. Adon Augusto, that man who used to talk about honesty and transparency, it seems his eyes were too tired to see where the checks were coming from. Give me a break. Are you saying the former person in charge of internal policy, the man who supposedly had intelligence reports from the Army and the Navy on his desk, didn't know who he was handing the microphone to for his incendiary speeches? Either he's very dumb, or he thinks we're very dumb. And I lean toward the second, with a touch of the first. It's endearing with an almost criminal tenderness to see how Morena has perfected the art of symbiosis. The sweeper not only swept away the rivals in the territory, it also seems to have swept away the financial obstacles of the campaigns. Meanwhile, the state of Tabasco lives under the terror of executions and kidnappings. Its star politicians, they paraded and still parade on stages, financed by the same structure that keeps people locked in their homes. This is the second stage of the transformation they promised us, because if the first stage was built with contributions in yellow envelopes from the troublesome brothers, the second one seems to have foundations of lead and money that smells like gunpowder. And the authorities? They're just fine, still collecting their paychecks every 2 weeks. The prosecutor's office of Mrs. Ernestina Godoy, that institution that serves to go after opponents and shelve the files of friends, will surely say there is no evidence. Of course, because finding the connection between an associate of a criminal and a political event requires a superhuman effort of, well, actually wanting to work and do things right. And we already know that complicity is the official religion of this administration when it comes to investigating their own. So there you have it, dear audience, cultured and knowledgeable. We have an auditor who is family, an opposition that is a doormat, a government that remembers it can't fight against reality or against Elon Musk forever, and a mobster with power inside the ruling party. For the next 8 years, your tax money will be reviewed by someone who probably used to have dinner at the same table as those who are spending that money today. How reassuring. Without a doubt, this is not a regime change. We are witnessing the perfection of cynicism. While they check even your grocery receipts to charge you taxes, the corcolatas get festivals organized for them with money that comes from the same groups that are bleeding the country dry. It's the ultimate irony. The government, which claims to fight insecurity, poses for a photo on a stage paid for by insecurity itself. You know how it is. Let's keep speaking up while they finish taking everything from us. I'll say goodbye here before they send a non-toxic audit to my channel. Thank you for being here and not letting your brains get washed. And remember, in this fourth Mexico, if there's a rumor, it's because there's money of dubious origin and a bottle cap floating like a dead man. I told you, and I'll say it again, this is a blatant mockery. I'll read your comments. See you on Friday. Remember that you can make your donations via PayPal. You can find the information in the comments section. Thanks to you, this channel stays active. It's very important to subscribe, like, and press the bell to receive notifications every time there's new content. Thank you.